Hello, welcome back. I'm Freddie and welcome to my next lesson in programming in C++. So you already had the code blocks page open, and what we're going to do is go to open an existing project, program in C++, which is the project I had open, which project I started before, and I'll open that up and see we have the lesson that we covered last. What we're going to do now, go to File, New, Empty File. Do I want to add this to the new file? Yes. Now I'm going to rename it C++, lesson 2. And also, a thing I should let you know is whenever you're creating a new file or saving a new file, you have to save it as .cpp, okay? This saves the file as a C++ file. If you don't do that, it'll save it as a C file, a C file, and then when you try to run it, it won't work because with C, you don't have the iostream file directive, okay? So we'll save that, okay? And here we have .cpp, okay? And if I open up, see, yep, we have both of these, okay? So what was the first thing you had to do? That's correct. Include iostream. For the next, we're going to be using namespace std, and also we have int main. Okay. Next thing we do is the brackets. These type of brackets. And remember, when all your coding will be inside, all your statements will be inside these brackets, okay? So remember, everything is done inside these brackets. Okay. So going on from our last lesson, we learned that using outputs we can print messages, okay? The thing is, if all we could do is that, then it wouldn't really be useful, because it would just be pointless, because all we could do is just output what we wanted to write. So I'd just write a story and then output it. But I would have to be writing codes like cout and endline just to be writing messages. So why could I not just do that on something like Word? Okay. Well, the thing is, with C++, we can get new data. We can have people who are using our program input data for us. And that with that data, we can either store it, change it, display it, add to it in a number of different ways, okay? But in order for them to input that data, what we need to use is cin. Okay, cin is console input. So this is when we want to input something into our program. We want something to be stored. Okay, so cin, and unlike with cout, we have greater than symbols. Okay, so the symbols will be going opposite way to they would if it was cout. So with cout, it would be this way, but with cin, they're this way. Okay, what I'm gonna input is ctemp. Okay, now what is ctemp, I hear you ask? Ctemp is a variable. Okay, a variable is basically a kind of box where we'll put data into. Okay, so variables will hold data, so what we're going to input will be stored in the box ctemp. Okay, but the thing is, what kind of data are we going to put into this box? Okay, and there's different kinds of data, but before we do that, what you need to know is, in order to use a variable, we have to declare that we're going to use it beforehand. So what we are going to do is this. Okay, first of all, let me put a semicolon, remember, semicolon to end the statement. Okay, before it, and I am going to declare this as a double ctemp. Okay, now this is me declaring the variable ctemp. Okay, I remember what I was saying as data types. There's different types of data that this variable can be. Okay, so the first would be int. Okay, int stands for integer, so whole numbers. So basically I would be declaring ctemp as a whole number. So as you know, integers are whole numbers. So this means that when I'm inputting ctemp could only be a whole number. So it doesn't matter how big or small that number is, or if it's negative or positive, as long as it's a whole number. So if I try to input a decimal place, a number with a decimal place, it wouldn't work because it's not an integer. Okay, for decimal places, we would use a floating point type of data, so where double comes in. I know double sounds weird, but double stands for double floating point, double precision floating point. Okay, that means it can take more than one decimal place. So I could input numbers like 8.36 or 8.37 or 8.01892, for example. If I wanted to only input in numbers with one decimal place, I would use float, and that only takes numbers with a single decimal place. Okay, and also the last type of data there is string. String is text, so words. So that means if I was declaring ctemp as a string kind of data, that means when I'm inputting ctemp, I'd have to input words. Okay, so that means I'd input something like the word temperature, or I'd actually spell the number 86 instead of putting the actual numerical values. Okay, but we won't be needing string. What we'll be using is double. Okay, so this means we can store temperatures with two decimal places, three decimal places. So it could be 86.37 degrees or 91.829 degrees, for example. Okay, so we've declared this variable, so that means now we can use it, and I'll show you how we're going to use it. Okay, so first of all, I'll show you something together. We're going to bring back the output cout, and with the speech box. So now I shall write input a Celsius temperature and press enter. And then again fill. And there we have end line. Okie dokie. So if I'd click run, it would say the screen will come up with input Celsius temperature and press enter, and underneath it will allow us to enter the temperature, which will be stored as ctemp. Okay, now what we're going to do now, what I want to do with this temperature. Well, what could I do? I could do a number of things. I could just display it so that I could just say Cout Ctemp. Okay. And also remember we have return 0. So, and I could also have before that, I could write switch off the temperature today is, and then the reason why I have to keep these separate, this separate from this, is otherwise this would be included within the speech and it wouldn't be recognized as the variable Ctemp. Okay, so now that we've done this, we're going to build it. Target up to date, nothing's already done. Seems okay. And then we're going to run it. So input the Celsius temperature and press enter. I shall input, let's say 45.89 degrees, and I press enter and see return it outputs. The temperature today is 45.89. Okay, so what we've done here. Okie dokie. Now, if we want to do something more advanced, I'll get rid of that. And what we can now do is add another variable. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to ftemp, and first I have to declare this variable. So what we need to do is a comma and then ftemp. So now we have another variable. Okay, and I'm going to do an equation for this variable. So equal sign, and I shall use Ctemp times asterisk for times 1.8 plus 32, comma. So now I have an equation which should be give me a value for ftemp. Ftemp is going to be Fahrenheit temperature. Okay, so this is an equation to convert temperature in Celsius into temperature in Fahrenheit. Okay, so now what we shall do is we will output speech marks the temperature in Fahrenheit is, and then it shall output ftemp. Okay, now let's see how this works. Build, 0 errors. Now we shall run it. Input the source temperature, try something low, like 30, oh that's not really low, 4.5 degrees. The temperature in Fahrenheit is, as it's converted it, is 94.1 degrees Fahrenheit. I want to try it again, build and run. I'll try, let's say 10.23 degrees Celsius. Type enter. The temperature in Fahrenheit is 50.414. See, because we use double precision floating point, it can give us more than one decimal place. So we have 3 decimal places now, okay? So, just to recap, whenever you want to use a variable for inputting, we have to declare the variable first. And remember, there's 3 types of data, okay? Int, integers, string, string for text, and then double or float for precision numbers, decimal places, okay? Integers for whole numbers, string for text, double for more than one decimal place, or float for one decimal place, okay? Thank you for listening and watching. I hope you've learnt something. I hope you can go away and practice these. You can pause the video to have a look at these, try this out yourself, or try variations on this, okay? Bye.